First tonight, following that fight, parents at Roseway Heights Middle School are now wondering if their kids are safe in the building. We've heard from many parents who've contacted our newsroom. Our Mike Benner dug into what happened.
As kids arrived at Roseway Heights Middle School for a delayed start Wednesday, there was a visible staff presence outside. Some parents wonder if it's enough.
So it's hard to feel confident and safe sending your kid to school, not knowing what's being done, but only hearing reports that the violence is escalating.
Parent Sally Stauffer is referring to what happened at the school Tuesday. Through a letter from the school, KGW has learned of a walkout in response to sexual harassment incidents among students. We're told fights then broke out, or as parents call it, a riot.
There were kids being chased by mobs of other students and being hit. My daughter got to witness that firsthand. There's a lot of racism going on. There were fights inside of the school. There were fights outside of the school.
School officials say one student suffered what's described as a medical emergency. They were checked out by medics and ultimately stayed at school. But still,
it makes me nervous though. Yeah, it made me nervous and have my kid go to school here.
I'm not happy about it at all. There's just not a lot I can do because it's the school. It's the way the schools are run, basically.
the Portland Police Bureau was alerted to Tuesday's incident, but all they did was stage officers nearby in case of an emergency. They say they're not invited on campus. An administrator for the district says that's not the case at all. If a school or district official thought assistance or a police presence was necessary, they would have asked for it.
So I'm not really sure. I can't really speak about what that looks like.
What Sally Stauffer can speak to are the safe spaces the school set up for students to process what happened. There's one for students of color and one for other students. While Stauffer hopes it leads to change, she believes even more needs to happen.
And I think we need some restorative justice measures being taken. I hear that's in the works. They need to fully staff this school. We've got a lot of different things happening and not a lot of adult support.
In Northeast Portland, Mike Benner for KGW News.
The governors of Oregon and Washington have signed off on the COVID-19 vaccine for kids ages 5 to 11, which means shots are now going into arms. Oregon has around 330,000 kids eligible for the vaccine. The Oregon Health Authority says it has enough of the Pfizer vaccine to meet the demand. OHA says there are many locations giving out the shots.
More than 350 pharmacies, public health clinics, primary care clinics, community health centers, hospitals, and school-based health centers have been or will be receiving their initial supply of vaccine through the end of next week. As with the introduction of any new eligible group for vaccination, we expect our healthcare system will not be able to accommodate all children who'd like to get vaccinated in the first few days that they become eligible.
Some places were giving out shots today, but the main rollout will start tomorrow and over the weekend. Senior and long-term care facilities face a growing problem through the pandemic. They're feeling that same workforce shortage many industries are feeling. And as Galen Etlin reports, it's causing a ripple effect and fight for change.
15 people, that's pretty good.
Tracy Berg has one thing to say about work.
I love my job.
She's the social services director at Marquis Hope Village, a senior and long-term care community in Canby. And despite the laughter, she knows her industry faces hard times.
There's definitely been times where you can feel burnt out.
There's no playbook for what we're going through right now.
Phil Fogg Jr. is CEO of Marquis Companies. He says an already existing shortage of nurses and nursing assistants is much worse now.
COVID-19 impact to long-term care has been, devastating.
Many people are out of the workforce because of COVID fatigue, remote learning challenges, and early retirements.
I've never in my career seen anything the likes of this.
Mary Rita Hurley is executive director of Our House of Portland, a residential care facility for people with HIV. She has worked in long-term care for 35 years and is struggling to hire caretakers.
It's always been tough, but oh my God, this is affecting care.
She lost one of her small crew to the vaccine mandate.
It was emotional for all of us.
And now is holding several patient beds open as some staff work 7 days straight.
We're burning them out.
She's working with recruiting agencies, but
there's no help to send.
I feel like we have a healthcare crisis.
Fogg recently was selected as board chair of the American Healthcare Association and is fighting for change.
Really a federal issue.
He's calling on subsidized medical education programs and a national standard for Medicaid reimbursement rates to help facilities pay and retain good staff.
It's not paying our bills. So how's that sustainable? It's not.
How was lunch?
Marquis isn't waiting. Tracy Berg says they're actively providing free classes to certify nursing assistants.
We're investing in every single level of position.
And the need is there. The Office of Economic Analysis projects Oregon's population over 75 will grow from 7% to 10% by 2030. The State Department of Aging and People with Disabilities is providing cash incentives and reimbursement increases for facilities to retain staff.
I used to work in hospitality. I really love people.
Berg says for her, helping seniors puts pandemic challenges in perspective.
Every single day, if I'm doing my job correctly, I get to see the difference that I'm making.
And hopes others will join her. Galen Etlin, KGW News.
Results are coming in from yesterday's election here locally, and here's where things stand. In Clark County, a measure funding county jails is failing. Supporters of this sales tax increase want the money to pay for body cameras for Clark County deputies. In the race for Vancouver mayor, it looks like Democrat Ann McInerney-Ogle will get another term. She's leading former Republican Party Chairman Earl Bowerman. And finally, a replacement levy for battleground schools is passing with 53% support. The levy would bring in $116 million over 4 years. A heads up for tourists visiting the coast. There is a new sales tax in Canna Beach. Voters approved a 5% sales tax on restaurant meals. It will be added to a diner's bill. Money will fund the Canna Beach Rural Protection District and pay for a new city hall and police station. A similar proposal in Newport was rejected. The Interstate Bridge has been around a long time. The first span was built way back in 1917. Plans to replace it have failed in the past, and now there's another push to replace it. But until then, how do they keep that old bridge going? KGW got an exclusive tour all the way to the top. These brave souls walked to the top to check out the bridge and see how it's maintained. There's a lot of grease involved to lube the 6.5 miles of cables that lift the span. But these days, the regular maintenance also includes camera and electronic sensors that make operations more efficient.
Then we started getting into these more technical capabilities to be able to having one operator. And so right now we've got one bridge tender running the functions of what used to take 3 people.
A 9-person crew works full-time to maintain the interstate bridge at a cost of more than $1 million a year. Some specifics on possible replacement plans are due out in January. We'll be sure to follow up on that as they come out. The Big Pipe project is turning 10 years old, and to help celebrate the anniversary, the city's rolling out a new online gauge that lets the public track in near real time how the system is doing in keeping sewage out of the Willamette River. And at those rare times there is an overflow, the gauge, called the Big Pipe Tracker, will allow you to track when it starts and when it stops. Before the Big Pipe project, Portland had more than 50 sewage overflows every year. In the last 10 years, there's been an average of about 4 per year. A Portland-based nonprofit is helping the homeless community by providing weekly meals. Christelle Kumwe tells us about Our Streets PDX.
In Northeast Portland,
every single day, we cook 7 days a week.
Every day starts early for volunteers gathering to cook for those in need.
Gluten-free oatmeal with caramelized apples.
For breakfast, we get here about 5:30, and then for dinner, we get here at 10 to prep.
It's a small operation that's making a big impact.
Look out for people who literally look just like us, but they are homeless.
Leading the way is Mitchell Azimata.
Everyone just simply needs resources. They need tools to help them get ahead. For us, is we have to take the first steps.
For Mitchell, the first steps to a solution came last summer in the midst of nationwide reckoning for racial justice.
Say his name! George Floyd! Say his name! George Floyd!
We were a group of friends who went out to the protest every single night. And from doing that, we figured out we wanted to do more for our community.
The graffiti and garbage protesters left behind prompted them to act. The group formed a nonprofit called Our Streets PDX. They picked up trash around the city, took on graffiti cleanup projects, and passed out homemade sandwiches to people living on the streets. A year and a half later, Grants and donations now support the mission, and dozens of volunteers have joined the effort.
We were making about 150 meals every week, to now we're making upwards of 3,000, 4,000 meals every single week.
They make all those meals at a commercial kitchen they rent here in Northeast Portland. So now Our Streets PDX not only delivers meals to the houseless community, they also provide them to local shelters.
We're just so thankful for them.
Do Good Multnomah Veterans Shelter gets hundreds of meals a day from Our Streets PDX to help their participants.
The housing crisis is not getting any better. And so just being able to have the community all be able to pitch in and help, because it's going to take all of us to fix this issue.
The community is what shapes us.
It's why they're here, making oatmeal and apples, hoping others will take their own first steps toward making a difference.
Our goal is much just to show love and kindness in everything that we do, and just much show everyone that much there is someone who does care about you and someone who is trying to look out for you as well.
Christelle Kumwe, KGW News.